Do 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 be be be. Okay, Luna, it's time to get the show on the road. So you have to stop farting because we don't want to make mistakes like those presidents from other countries that say wild and crazy things while their microphone is on. Oh, oops. Oh, oh. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we exchange news from our city, from our state, from our country. We look for answers to your questions. We research things that make you curious. We research things that make us curious, and we bring all the information to the table so we can have a more connected life as a community of English speaking locals. Yes, I'm looking everywhere because I am setting up my notes to be legible enough for me to be able to read while I'm sharing the news with you. And I think we are good to go. I hope you're doing great this morning. And okay, now I'm here. I am definitely here. It's great to see you. It's Tuesday, January 25th, and we are not having Taco Tuesday today, I'm afraid, but we have scheduled a taco outing for tomorrow. So we will definitely have a taco incident sometime this week. Meanwhile, I'm happy to report that yesterday, after that crazy rain, I was able to connect with some friends and had very, very comforting tortilla soup at Ernesto's just down the street. It was perfect because it was chilly and the tortilla soup was nice and warm, and it was just a nice little outing for this mildly crippled dude. So here we are. Here we are, another day, more news to share with you. Today we have all kinds of interesting news. We have vaccine news. We have inflation news. We have an itchy face, as you can tell. We have context news. We have a couple of bits that I've chosen to share, not because they're going to transform our life, but because you're bound to hear about them elsewhere, and I want to make sure that you have at least some basic knowledge about what's going on, including one very, very gruesome incident that has rattled Mexican society. And, you know, we don't like to talk about those, but I think it's important to bring them up. We have news about an endangered species from Mexico that you may not be aware of. And we have news about other things. We have news about all kinds of fun things today. So I hope you'll enjoy the choice. But before we go there, as always, it is a pleasure to welcome folks that are new to the broadcast. So if you happen to be new, please let us know by writing the word new in your comments. And if you have something truly important that you wish to ask, such as Jody, who added a capital Q to will there be a charro parade down in the Malecon? Well, we don't have an answer to that one, but we have an answer to others. So if you have some truly important things that you want to bring up during the broadcast, it helps a great deal to add a little Q or a big Q. That way we know we are being addressed rather than you having lovely conversations among yourselves. So let's get the show on the road. Let's take a look at the news and take it from there. Okay, for starters, I bring you a reminder that, hold on just a second, I bring you a reminder that tomorrow's vaccination campaign is at La Lija, and it will only be for those looking for a second shot of the Sinovac vaccine, 18 years of age or higher. There will be no first-time vaccines available at this time, as the government is looking to run out of some 6,000 Sinovac vaccines that are still available before embarking on new campaigns. Speaking of COVID and COVID news, if you are overwhelmed by reading so much news about COVID-19, well, you're not alone. And if that is the case, I found this great article on Huffington Post that you may want to read. You may find it interesting. I will leave it in the show notes. But I would also like to refer to the first few paragraphs as well, because I thought this was very useful information. The very first recommendation that they do is prioritize protocols in your local community. With COVID-19 dominating the news cycle, it may seem scary to think about the future of the pandemic, but ultimately, the global nature of this health threat is not within your control. One thing you can do, however, is stay informed about protocols in your local community and do your part to reduce the spread of the coronavirus. Now, why is this relevant? Well, I'm very grateful to receive a fair amount of correspondence from some of you sharing articles about COVID research being conducted or COVID guidelines being put into effect in other parts of the world. And while this is important and interesting to read, for some people, it might just be a little bit too much. So if you send me or send us COVID-related information and then we don't mention them on the broadcast, it's simply because we're trying to focus on knowledge that applies to Puerto Vallarta, this being a broadcast for English-speaking locals living here in Puerto Vallarta. So I'm glad to see that Huffington Post confirms my suspicion that it is probably a good idea to take care of what's going on locally rather than worrying too much about what is being decided for other countries or at other places. Moving right along, the average price of limes has skyrocketed in Mexico to a whopping 179% increase in the first half of January. This is the highest increase we've seen in the price of limes in almost 8 years. This is due to inflation. Other produce have also been affected, such as bananas and potatoes. I even read a news item of a taco place that is giving you free tacos if you buy limes from them. It is that bad. So don't be alarmed if all of a sudden drinking those wonderful margaritas out there becomes slightly more expensive in the near future. Now, speaking of news that we choose to bring or not choose to bring here to the cluster on a morning basis, one of the criteria that I like to use when it comes to picking the news that we share here at Coffee and Headlines is I always ask myself, is this news going to have any kind of impact in my daily life and subsequently in yours? So as such, when people die, we like to remember, of course, when it is appropriate. If somebody from Egypt dies, well, we don't talk about it as much. We also choose not to talk about crimes and things that we can do very little about. However, an exception has come forth that has the whole country talking, or if not the whole country, a lot of people. And this is bound to get to the international news, and it's very gruesome. but I'm choosing to share this with you because you're bound to hear about it somewhere else. Um, the news is as follows. A baby was born in the state of Puebla on October 4th of last year. He was baptized and named Tadeo or Theodore, but little Tadeo died 3 months afterwards due to intestinal problems. The baby was buried at the Iztapalapa cemetery. A few days later, news emerged of a dead baby that was found in the trash at a jail in the vicinity. Feeling concerned, Tadeo's parents went to visit their late son's grave to ensure that his remains were still there, but unfortunately they were not. This past Saturday evening, the remains were transported to Mexico City so they can be buried again. Meanwhile, the Mexico City Attorney's Office is in the process of providing the parents with all the psychological and legal support they can possibly need. What on earth would possess someone to go and dig into recently buried bodies? Well, there are two lines of thought here, and there's no specific information available about this case just yet. A lot of time graves are opened because people are looking for jewelry and even clothes. I hate to say this is a common crime, but it is also something that gets associated with Santeria. And Santeria is a religious practice from Cuba that has been stigmatized because it's been linked with satanic rituals and delinquency. So there's nothing pretty about this news item, but you are bound to hear about this either through local news or international news. So I thought I would give you some sort of context as to what happened. Needless to say, everyone is very shocked and finds this very indignant. Our president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, didn't have kind words to say about this, mentioning that this is a social decay. It's rotten fruit product of the social decay that shouldn't happen. It has to do with the recent past that neoliberal politics left behind. Of course, the president would make it a political issue, but here there are. That is the news about this baby, and I hope the parents will find some comfort through whatever resources are provided by the government. Another bit of news, not as gruesome, has to do, this is also a context bit of news, has to do with Luis Munguia and the Partido Verde, or the Green Ecology political party here in Puerto Vallarta. We remember Luis Munguia as being the almost handsome candidate to becoming mayor at Puerto Vallarta. He didn't get enough votes, so he jumped from one party or another to another and ended up becoming part of the city council here in Puerto Vallarta. But he remains a member of the Green Party, which is the opposition of the party that is ruling in Puerto Vallarta right now. And this past Saturday, an event was organized to make him the official representative of the party here in the state of Jalisco. The event was shut down by the government, arguing that it had way too many people, it had not been properly authorized, and there was a bunch of he said, she said going on. And ultimately what happened is that the decree in the state was brought up to indicate that any event that you organize that has more than 300, not 800, 300 people, needs to be pre-approved by the health board, and it needs to be requested with 30 days in advance. So I doubt that there's many of us out there trying to plan 300 people events out there, but this the context here is how divided the different political parties are here in Puerto Vallarta, and how unfortunate this is, because all this squabbling and tell-telling between the political parties really, in my little opinion, takes away from our city's ability to evolve as a healthy, prosperous city. And that's what we have for news today. Let us now turn over to the weather, which I have successfully turned on. Yay! And let's see what's going on weather-wise after that crazy rain we had yesterday. Well, it is says snarky weather, says my favorite time of the year, cold and flu season. Whatever. It is 24 degrees out there. It feels like 25. Humidity is at 64, and our temperature in Fahrenheit degrees is 75. Our weather forecast for today calls for a mostly cloudy day through the day with a high temperature of 27, low temperature of 18. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we can expect a mostly cloudy day again with a high temperature of 27, low temperature 18. Great temperature for tortilla soup, I tell you. And Thursday, we'll have a partly cloudy day with high temperature of 27, low temperature of 17. Moving right along, I have some news. Earlier in the broadcast, somebody asked, are we going to have a charro parade? Well, I don't know that we are or that we're not, but I'm happy to report that everything has been green lighted for the International Charro Championship to take place from February 1st to February 6th here in Puerto Vallarta. The event will feature 850 participants from Mexico and the United States that belong to 65 different teams. And this will be the largest event ever. And it is one of the most emblematic sports events here in Puerto Vallarta. We are reminded that charreria is a national sport here in Mexico. This is the wonderful event where we get to see charros do all kinds of tricks and show their skills while they're riding a horse and using a lasso, so forth and so on. It is important to mention, however, that due to the nature of the event and the size of it, you will be required to present a vaccination certificate or a recent COVID test in order to attend. I will most likely not attend because of my arm. I just don't want to risk it being surrounded by a bunch of people. But it is a beautiful event to look at. I mean, it is just gorgeous because whereas other types of bullfights and events with animals tend to harm the animals, charreria, for the most part, is not a sport that endangers animals in any way. Another news item that I have for you is the fact that Guadalajara city, our capital city, we think that everything that's going on these days has to do with COVID and crime and this and that and the other. But somebody must be doing something wonderful such that Guadalajara city has been designated by the United Nations as the book capital of the world for the year of 2022. And the city is organizing all kinds of cultural activities that will kick off on April 23rd, this being the day in which we celebrate World Book and Copyright Day. So if you have any plans to visit the city and would like to have some kind of cultural context, please keep this in mind. Again, nothing is going to happen in the next couple of months. But starting in April, we can expect a number of interesting cultural events going on in the city. I have two more headlines to share that have very little to do with our everyday life. Again, we have to have some exceptions. But I thought you would find this interesting. The first one has to do with this beautiful and not so pretty creature. It's the Aholote or Axolotl. It is an amphibian indigenous to Mexico. You can find them in pet shops and aquariums all over the world, but unfortunately, in their natural environment, they're almost extinct. Vox has come up with one of these wonderful explainer articles about ajolotes and why they are fascinating creatures, and in the environment where they live in now, in the outskirts of Mexico City in Xochimilco, and what scientists are doing to study them. You see, ajolotes are unique because if you sever one of their limbs, they grow it back. And this has genetic impact in medical research that has continued to blow the minds of many researchers worldwide. So if you want to read about this little but important, fascinating creature from Mexico, I will leave you with a fun link. And last but not least, in case you have been losing sleep over the James Webb Telescope, I'm happy to announce that the Webb Telescope has reached its destination and is now being calibrated to begin giving us the fantastic images that have been promised by scientists of the universe. And this will start happening sometime during the summer. But I think it's fascinating that technology has allowed for a man made object to be launched to a stationary orbit 1 million miles or kilometers. I forget if it's kilometers or miles, but it's a freaking long distance. And to be able to take photographs of the universe from such a strangely far away place, I am just fascinated by that kind of stuff. So forgive me if this is not your cup of tea or cup of coffee and headlines, but I just had to share. And now let's take a quick look at your beautiful good mornings and other comments just to see what everybody is commenting about. Michal giggles because she heard me giggle. Well, yeah, I read this news about a certain president of a certain country that cursed a certain reporter for asking a certainly questionable question. Anyhow, we don't mean to roast anybody out there. Let's see. Higher tequila prices. Well, I don't think it's tequila that is struggling here, Jill. It is the limes that we use to flavor our food. So better stick to red wine. I'm a red wine subscriber, so I hear you. Let's see what else we have. 45 days, Alan. We are counting with you. Another good morning from Michael. Thank you so very much. Josh asks, what the fuck you do to your arm? Well, Josh, I heard that the ants on the floor were tasty, so I had to trip down and have a lick. And here we are. And let's see. Oh, Christy, this is good news. This is good news. I'm sorry that your Facebook app went funny, but I'm glad that you're able to join us this morning. Looking very well. You know, Kate, I'm feeling much better. You know, it's still itchy and painful and all that stuff, but you know, getting in and out of bed is not complicated anymore, or as complicated as it used to be. And again, it's not well. It is dedication to you, without a doubt. I am hopelessly and lovingly dedicated to the cluster. But you'd be surprised, Kate. I don't know if you've been where I sit in front of a microphone telling news 6 days a week, but you'd be surprised at how much nurturing energy comes from you, even as you sit in your own homes or you're doing your own walks with your headphones on. I feel your energy. And yesterday, of course, being out with dear friends to have a little bit of soup totally did the trick. So it is very much appreciated here as well. Let's see what else. Does the city ever do a yard waste pickup? Well, they do. Of course they do. I wonder if you're referring to a specific place or a specific situation. But yes, trees are trimmed and then the foliage is taken away. But I'm intrigued, Ray. If you're wondering about a specific situation, feel free to share. Jeannie, we are exactly on the same channel. I mean, I do read COVID news from important places, as in the science community, but do I want to know what's happening in Germany or Britain or France? Not quite so much. Let's see what else. I noticed that at Sam's Club yesterday they were priced like $8 a bag. Regular price was $4.50. Yep, I hear you. I hear you. Glad you are healing. I'm having same issues again with iPad cutting out every second word, so we'll try another day. Be well. Damn, only on your broadcast. Try reinstalling Facebook. It seems to have worked for others. Let's see. Yes, I know that it is very shocking. It's not the kind of news that I like to share here, but it's bound to come out in conversation. because for better or worse, the foreign press loves to reproduce these kinds of things. Uh, Marco Antonio says, I don't mean to contradict the news you give to people, but the baby was born in El Estado de Mexico and it was used to sneak drugs into one of the Puebla prisons, nothing to do with Santeria. Marco, I appreciate what you're saying and I don't mind the contradiction, but if you're going to make a statement like that, kindly accompany it with a URL that we can refer to. Again, I didn't say that the Santeria thing or the theft thing was definite, and it is quite possible that what you are referring could be true as well. But in the goal of trying to keep to accurate information as much as we can, if you're going to share such an important theory with us, kindly do so by also sharing the source from which you obtained the information. We will be very grateful if you partner with us that way. Let's see what else. Where is the best place to get information on times, tickets, etc. for the Charro competition? Wendy, that would probably have to be the Charro Championship Facebook page, which I am so very happy to research after the broadcast is over and include in the show notes today. Ajolotes are super cute, absolutely. And thank you, Julie. Julie's a big sports fan. She says that the Arena Vallarta Facebook page has the scheduled events. That's great. Let's see what else. Da-dee-da-dee-da-da. And yes, the Aholote is in the new 50 peso bill. Thank you very much for that, Michael. Let's see what else. Barbara loves Ernesto's. That makes two of us. Lynn says that I make you think of the song from Grease, the movie, Hopelessly Devoted to You. Thank you for the earworm. We're probably going to be talking about or thinking about that song for the rest of the day. Let's see. Yard waste is piled up at corner but doesn't get picked up. Ray, the best thing you can do is notify the city so that they can know that there is some foliage that needs to be picked up. That is a way in which you can contribute to make sure that your corner looks a little bit prettier. And Catherine comments that in Arias, it gets collected maybe every 6 months. Thank you very much for that, Marco Antonio. I really appreciate it. Actually, I look at your headline, and your headline says that the baby could have, not that the baby was. So again, there's a huge difference between a headline. In fact, can I bring this up? I don't know that I can bring this up right now because I cannot access it. But the headline, as I'm reading it, says that the baby could have been used for that, not that the baby was. And I am sure that more details will continue to unfold about this situation, or at least hopefully they will, because these are the kinds of things where stones should not be left unturned. And this, of course, brings us to the, oh, what a nice little hello. Holy cow, I can't believe I caught you live. Been watching your videos on YouTube for a while. Thank you for all the great information. We arrived Friday and can't wait. Steve, I thank you for all those exclamation marks. I am so very glad that you found us here, and I am sure that you're going to have a wonderful time once you get into our city on Friday. Fantastic. Well, you're going to be here just in time for a bunch of fun things that are going on. Hopefully you'll stay, will be uneventful, or if it is eventful, it will hopefully be full of good and wonderful events. And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast. Thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you very much for your corrections. Again, we love to be corrected, or we love for the news information to be complemented whenever it is pertinent. And hopefully we will get together sometime in the near future. Hopefully maybe even tomorrow. I know I'll be here. You can be too. Between now and then, have an awesome day.